Hi everyone, my name's Amy and I'm from realeNglishConversations.com and I'm here with Greg from OnlineLanguageAcademy.com. And what are we going to talk about today, Greg?
We're going to talk about advice for doing interviews in English.
Yep, and things that you should not do in your interview if you'd really, really like to get a job, which we know many of you are studying English for that reason, to finally get a job at an English speaking company and really use this skill that you've been working really, really hard on to try to improve. So, the reason why I'm talking to Greg about this is he has, uh, well, why don't you explain your website, Greg? What do
Yeah,
you do?
sure. So I run onlinelanguageacademy.com. It's a company that offers one-to-one classes via Skype with native English teachers. So the teachers are all around the world, the students are all around the world, and we help those students reach a high level of spoken English. And yeah, I often ask, well, I always ask the students at the beginning, what is your reason for learning English? And almost always it is for work, for getting a better job, or for doing an interview in English. So it's really important. This first step in getting an interview and doing an interview in English, it's a really, really important thing for many of our students.
It's the whole goal.
Yeah.
And for you, you're such a great person to talk to about this because you've hired so many different teachers in the time for your website to do these conversation lessons, which means you've done a lot of interviews.
Absolutely, yeah. When I was a kid, I wish I had the opportunity to interview so many people because it really is the best way to give you an idea of what you should do in an interview and what you absolutely should not do in an interview. So I have
All right.
a lot of good and bad experiences from these past 7 years.
All right. So why don't we start with the first things that you see before you even approach the person to do an interview? Because, of course, to get an interview is the first step before you actually even have one.
Yeah.
So, what are a few of the mistakes that you see over and over and over again that you think you can give some advice to help some people to not do?
Yeah, I mean, I think when many people apply for a job via email, they don't realize that the person reading that is going to receive maybe 100 or more applications for the same job. Okay, and that they don't have all week to read every single one. So
Every detail,
exactly
as
every detail.
amazing as it may be.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure you love your CV, but believe me, the interviewer is not going to be able to read every detail of every CV before they decide who to give an interview to.
That's
So,
right.
so you've got to stand out. Okay, you've got to stand out. You've got to be unique. And if I'm reading 10 CVs in a minute, why am I going to look at yours? Okay, if it's a simple Word document, which is just ugly text, I'm not going
Hmm.
to really enjoy reading it. But
No.
if it's an elegant, creative CV done with, lots of visuals. I know some people use Illustrator, which is fantastic. The CVs created with Illustrator stand out so much. I guarantee I will read every detail on that CV. So
That's really interesting because now that we're in a digital era of
mhm.
time, I think of when I used to apply for jobs, it was a piece of paper and I walked around to different businesses. But now, you have an opportunity to really impress or take it up a step because of technology
A-
and, like you said, Illustrator makes it a little
Absolutely.
bit more interactive. Is it
Yeah.
interactive? I don't know about it.
It's it's just a lot more visual. So instead of
Okay.
saying, for example, I speak English, French, Spanish, and Italian, they would create like a almost like a graph where English would be up here, and it would say native. Spanish would be up here,
Hmm.
bilingual. French would be up here, advanced,
Right.
and Italian would be a little bit down here, and there'd be the colors of the flags of those countries. But
Oh, that's
it's
cool.
just a lot more visually pleasing to look at that than to read the same old text in black and white. Spanish
Yes.
in advanced, this intermediate, blah blah blah. It's just makes it a lot more interesting, and it also gives you the idea that hey, this is a creative person. No matter what they're doing, they're creative and they care about the job that they're applying for.
Yeah.
So it's great, and I think you can add links to them. And um, as you said, we're in a digital era now, and the person reading it is going to be connected to the internet. And just with one click on a certain part of your CV, if it's a PDF, you can click to the applicant's website, which could
That's right.
be just a simple about.me website,
Hmm.
which could be a photo and some just one page introduction to you, but it just makes you different and stand out.
That's right. And have you had anybody that's been attaching a video as part of their application, or how common is that now?
Since this academic year, I actually demand that all applicants send a video.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
yeah, this does basically imagine. I mean, I used to get 100, sometimes even 200 applications for one job posting that I put.
Wow.
And
Okay.
what this does, I put on my applications now, I put, if you don't send a video, your application will not be considered. And yeah, really, really, really harsh. But what it does is it makes sure that everybody who applies is really, really serious about the job. They've made the effort to make a video.
Hmm.
They know how to use a computer, which
Hmm.
is important if you're giving classes via Skype,
That's right.
um, and and it gives a great first impression of me. I mean, I have to have native English speakers, but when I used to get 200 applications, a lot of them would be people whose English was very good, but it was not their mother tongue. So
Oh, geez. So you
yeah,
can't tell from the resume or the
no,
CV, but in a video, it's very evident whether or not it's their native language.
absolutely. And my surname is Italian, so I know, hey, if I'm writing to somebody, maybe they think I'm Italian. I know that a lot of teachers have. It's, you can't tell. You can't tell just by looking at their name if they're a native teacher or not. Um,
That's right.
and you might get an application from Alfredo Blanco, and he'll call himself Fred White, and you don't know until the interview that he's actually a
A
Spanish.
different,
Yeah,
yeah, he's a Spanish speaker and
yeah,
definitely not a native speaker, which you would be looking for, especially for your English lessons that you do.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think it also really helps where the person they can show their personality, they're just able to express themselves a little bit more and give you a few seconds to just make that impression, that first impression. And you know, I really personally, if I'm watching a video when I'm trying to hire someone, because I hire some freelancers sometimes, I really notice that if a person is just, hello, my name is so and so, and this is what I do. Yeah, okay, thank you. Bye.
yeah.
It's not very exciting for them,
No,
and it's not exciting for us. So it's
no,
probably going to be a next.
absolutely. And it's we're talking about a job for a teacher. Or if it doesn't have to be a well. I mean, in my case, I'm looking for teachers. But if you're dealing with the public, or if you're dealing with other people, you want to see that this person is going to connect. Is going to be have a nice personality. Be friendly. You want to see their personality in that video, and you don't want
That's
them
right.
to just read a
A
script, read
script.
some notes they've made, saying everything you
Yeah,
want to hear. No, you want to know, who is this person? Who are
that's
they?
right.
Are they going to be a good fit with me? Can I connect with them in this short introduction?
And it's more than you can really do with a piece of paper or a
Oh yeah,
presentation. It's it puts more than words on paper to actually see someone speaking. And I mean, just taking the time to make a video that really shows a lot about how serious they are about the
Yeah.
job. So that's
Yeah, and a
really cool.
lot of people don't like making a video, or don't like putting it even on YouTube. I mean, you can put it on YouTube and put a private link that you can
Hmm.
attach to the CV, but some people just don't want to do that, and they're not willing to do that for a job. I mean, we're talking about a job. You've got to make the effort to get a job. You're not just going to get it
Yeah,
on a plate. And if you're not willing to make the extra effort for the application,
that's
then you're
right.
probably not going to be willing to make the extra effort, or go the extra mile in
Mm.
your actual job. So it's a great first test, really.
And I think that goes also to when you're creating your resume, it's really important to add a little bit of personalization to take the time to say what company you're applying to, why you want to work for them. I mean, whether it's a cover letter or just a little note at the top of the page, that personalization really helps separate them.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got um, CVs or applications via email with no text whatsoever. Two, I can see they've sent it to my academy, to about 20 other academies,
Oh no,
and I just think you
bulk
absolutely,
sending.
absolutely uninterested in working for my
Yeah.
business. You're just interested in you, and you're expecting people to make the effort to get in touch with you. So straight in the bin. No,
Yeah, and it really, I mean, as an employer that's hiring people, this is your livelihood.
yeah,
It's your business, and you care about who is representing your business and your brand. So for us, it's really important that we hire the right people. And
absolutely.
obviously, someone who can't take a minute to look at our company, really take the time to personalize it, I don't know that it's going to be a good fit for me.
No, no, absolutely not. You need, no, you got to go, you've got to always go the extra mile, because there are 100 people applying for the same job as you. So you've got to stand out. You've got to be the best. Not just
That's
good,
right.
but you've got to be the best.
So let's pretend now that this person gets a job. They have personalized their email, they've made an attractive resume to attach to the email. You see all of their skills, you think they're a good fit, you call them up, and you have an interview. Now, what are some of the characteristics that maybe would separate them positively versus negatively during that interview?
Yeah. Wow. Negatively, I have many stories. Listen, I mean, because all my classes are, all my interviews are via Skype. I mean, the teachers are all over the world. So, um, you, it's incredible how many people just don't know how to act in an interview. It's
Okay.
it's via Skype, but it's still a real interview. So that, I mean, I've given an interview to a guy who was lying on his bed
Oh
once.
no.
I've given an interview to a guy who had his cat with him. He was stroking his cat during
Oh,
the
that's
interview,
that's distracting and
which,
awkward.
I mean, I just thought, would you take your cat to a real interview? No. So don't bring your cat to a Skype interview. Um, what else? Yeah, people just not preparing the interview well. And by that, I mean, yeah, if you're going to a physical interview, you would realize where the place is. You would make sure your car has petrol to get there. It's the same on Skype. Make sure your laptop is plugged in to the.
Oh no.
Make sure you're in a part of the house where it looks professional in the background, where
That's right.
you are not going to be disturbed by family members or pets during the interview. Where the,
And your laptop isn't going to die right in the
exactly.
middle of the interview because, yeah,
Yeah,
just take the time, plug it in, make sure. I mean, if the internet disconnects or something, that's beyond your control. But,
yeah,
you
that's
know,
fine.
yeah, do everything you can to try to make it be prepared. And I mean, I would say even like I have a cat, and if she came up into the interview, oh no, the cat jumped up in front of me, it would be, excuse me, 1 second, my cat has decided to join me and she's not part of
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Don't start stroking it.
Exactly. Yeah, apologize. I mean, it's all about preparation. How serious are you about the job?
Mhm.
And if you're serious, then you're prepared. You've made sure everything is perfect conditions for the the interview. So
That's right. So you can focus.
yeah.
Are there, I know for me, when I used to hire delivery drivers for my delivery company, I always had a few questions that I asked that really made the person think, or I would ask them a question so that they could, I don't know, it's almost like the answer reveals more than it seems. Do you have any questions that you like to ask like this in your interview?
I do, yeah. In fact, the first and the last question I ask actually for me are the most important.
Okay.
And I think as the interviewee, you should also treat always the first and the last question as the most important because it's the first impression and the last impression. It's
That's right.
you know the first impressions are so important, and the last impression is what the interviewer is going to remember more than anything. So it's very good to prepare the two questions very well. My first question is always, what do you know about me and Online Language Academy?
Oh,
So,
good question.
yeah. So this is again, it's a bit of a test. It's a bit of me seeing, is this person wasting my time or are they serious about their application? Because, you know, I'm basically asking, have you researched the company? Do you know who I am? Do you know about what type of classes we offer? Have you been on the
That's right.
website? Do you care enough to have spent half an hour navigating around social media and
Like, are you genuinely interested in working for us?
yeah,
Because if you haven't been to the website yet and you don't really know what we do, I don't
yeah.
know.
And you want to know that they want to work for you, for your business, not just for anybody, but they
That's right.
really want to work for your company. And if they do, they've researched it. So
Yeah.
so that's
That's
key.
that's really, really good advice. And I mean, I'm sure it's out there, but really when it's your business, like if it's my business and somebody you can tell they've went through the website, they've looked at the pages, they're talking about some of the things, some of the finer details even
Yeah.
where you're like, wow, that's impressive,
Yeah.
especially to the owner, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh my word. I mean,
Yeah.
the best answer I've had was one girl recently. She knew everything about the most recent blog post we'd done about blog posts that I barely remembered. I mean, from ages ago.
Wow.
She really done extensive research. The worst, also very recently, I said, "What do you know about the company?" And he said, "Well, um, I know that you teach classes via Skype, I think, and
Oh
I
no.
know that you pay X amount of euros per class." So basically, yeah, the pay.
He
He knew what the
read
money
the
was.
ad.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's definitely so something you should definitely not do is walk into an interview or have a Skype interview without knowing anything about the company that you're applying
yeah,
for a job.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what's the last question that you like to ask?
Okay, so the last one is, have you got any questions? All right, which is a simple
Okay.
question, and I think every interviewer asks this. But what I'm actually asking is not, have you got any questions? I'm asking
Mhm.
them, well, I'm giving them basically an opportunity to tell me how awesome they are. All right, and how that everything we've talked about in the interview, that's great, but I'm giving them then an opportunity to tell me more information. What extra can you do? Yes, we've talked
That's
about the fact that for example, we teach business English, interview preparation, conversation classes. But maybe in this part, they could say, "Hey, do you help students prepare for IELTS and TOEFL? Because I have extra experience doing that, and
Exactly.
I've been here, there, I've traveled to this country, teaching this, teaching that. It's just a great way for them to give more information about how great they are.
Yeah. That's right. And it's just opening up that dialogue, or if they do have a question or they want to know more about the classes, it might give them an opportunity to really talk about their specialty. Like
Yeah,
they could ask a question that would really allow them to start explaining how they can be an asset and how the way they teach is unique, or tell another story or something that they didn't have an opportunity to share during the job interview.
yeah. And let me tell you the best answer I got to this when I said,
Sure.
it was really recently, I said, have you got any questions? And she said to me, what type of interviewer, what type of person are you hoping to hire?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
what is the winning applicant going to be like? And I said,
Okay.
whoa, okay. I was not expecting that question. So I said, okay, so well, obviously a great teacher, but apart from that, I want this person to be professional. I want them to give a great image of Online Language Academy. You're an ambassador for the academy as well as a teacher. I want you to go the extra mile, and that means yes, you're teaching classes via Skype, but not just that. I want you to, go the extra mile. Give the students what they need, what they want, and more. Um,
That's
and and she said, "Wow, that's me. That's me."
nice.
I was
That's
like,
good. That's
"Wow,
a really, really good trick, because I I think when you're an interviewee and you're in that situation, and sometimes the person on the other side of the interview, the interviewer, they're a little bit, you don't know what they're thinking. They
mm,
have their poker face on,
yeah,
and you give them an answer and they write down some notes and they make you kind of nervous, and you're like, okay, was that a good note?
yeah,
So you might be able to say, by throwing that answer back, can you tell me what your ideal candidate looks like? It again gives you that opportunity to really sell yourself and promote the skills that you have and how you are that person that they're looking for.
yeah."
No,
It was
that's
an
super cool.
absolutely winning interview. I came out of that interview with a big, big smile on my face. I remember, yeah, speaking to my wife afterwards, and I said to my wife, I said, "There's just one more thing that she needs to do in order to be the perfect candidate."
Nice.
And that
And what was
was,
that?
yeah, that was top tip. After the interview,
Uh-huh.
I always recommend just writing a simple, quick email to the person who interviewed you. Just saying,
Okay.
thank you for your time. If you've got any questions, just let me know. I appreciate the opportunity that you've given me.
Mhm.
Just a short email, but it just proves that I've talked about going the extra mile, and it's a great example of that. Yes, I expect you to come to the interview and give a good interview, but then the extra is the nice little email afterwards, and it
Yeah,
just
it was
shows.
really nice to meet you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, or something like that.
Exactly, yeah. And it just
Yeah.
shows they're a really nice person, good manners, professional. They care about the job, and
Yeah,
that they will go the extra mile to get the job. And that is
that's
that
great
is a
advice.
winning thing for me. It really is.
Well, so yeah, I think these are some really, really great tips for people for how to handle a job interview and really get through the first part, have success during the interview. Um, for me, I tend to get nervous. Well, I used to get nervous during job interviews. Do you have any advice for people to deal with their nerves? Because this isn't their first language, likely, and it can
Yeah,
be pretty intimidating trying to do a difficult interview in English when it's not your first language.
yeah. I mean, interviews are nerve-wracking. They make you nervous in your language, but in a
Yeah,
foreign language, it's even
it's
worse.
like, ah.
Yeah. So, two main things. You should. I mean, the first question is, always usually the same. Hi, how are you? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Yeah. So just visualize this moment. Visualize yourself going to the interview. Visualize yourself shaking the hand, sitting down. Do it in your mind time and again and answer that first question a million times in your mind. Because if you've done it so many times in your mind, then when you do it in reality, it's easy. You've been there, you've done it. You know what you're going to say, you know what you want to say, you know
Yeah.
how you're going to act. So it really helps calm the nerves at the beginning of the interview.
Just to get you through that first few seconds where you just walk in and you're like, oh my God, my palm's sweaty. I just
Yeah.
wiped it off, shake their hand, you know, sit down. How are you doing? I'm good. And by the time you're there, your anxiety is already going down and you can start focusing on the new questions that you're not sure
Yeah.
what you're going to have to answer.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
first
definitely.
question is just getting rid of the nerves, really, and then the following questions, great, prepare them. I mean, you know the typical questions that they're going to give you in an interview, and you can practice those with a native English teacher. You know, practice them with that's we help many students prepare interviews, and we go through all the typical questions that they ask, and we go through their CV as well. Make sure you're able to expand on everything that is written on your CV, because the interviewer
Okay.
will
Yes.
ask you about that. So,
That's right. And how they can connect that back to the job that they're applying for. You
yes,
know, even if it's a completely unrelated job, if you can prepare the answer in your head in English, obviously, about the experience that's on your resume, it can help it come out a little bit easier. And you've already thought about how past experience could possibly relate to this job. Because
yeah,
everything we do, we learn from,
yeah.
even if it's not the same industry, right?
Yeah, and that relating to this job is a positive, and you always want to finish every answer on a positive note. You want to talk about your experiences, which is a great way to speak more fluently. By the way, if you're speaking about past experiences, you're speaking from the heart and not
That's right.
too much from you're not
The
too
grammar
thinking.
brain.
Yeah, the grammar brain. Yeah, yeah. So it really helps you speak fluently, and yeah, and then use that example to relate to how you can help the company based on your past experience. That's a
Yeah.
great tip for answers.
Do you have any other advice for helping people with their nerves in interviews? Is there anything else that they can do?
Yeah, I think I mean I talked about the visualizing it before, but I think the best thing you can do is practice the interview beforehand, and practice it with somebody who you are really, really, really uncomfortable
Oh
doing it
no.
with. Yeah.
That makes me
So,
nervous just thinking about it.
oh my, it's the way I used to do it with my dad. Like I used to practice interviews with my dad
Okay.
for work interviews. At university, I studied French and Spanish and Italian actually. So I had lots and lots of oral exams, and I always used to practice the oral exam with a friend, a classmate,
Okay.
and oh, it was just the worst. So embarrassing and awkward. You just feel terrible. But if
Yeah.
you can do it with them, then when the interview comes, it's easy. It's easy because you don't know this person, and you've broken that barrier of fear and
And
embarrassment.
anxiety that you feel.
Yeah,
You've already been through it. You didn't want to talk to this person. You've been through that experience, and now you're like, okay, this is just someone I don't know. It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's a great tip. So yeah, do it with your friend, your neighbor, your mum, whoever you feel the worst doing it with. Do it with that
Yeah.
person, and um, it'll be a breeze. It'll be easy when the when the big interview comes.
Yeah, maybe it could be, I mean, if they're already a student with you and they're doing the preparation for their job interview, maybe it would be better to have it with a new teacher that they've never worked with or something, just to
Yeah,
create that circumstance where, okay, this is someone I don't know. I'm going to practice with this person.
yeah,
And
that's a great
yeah,
idea. It really is, and yeah, we've had that sometimes. I had a student last week actually write to me saying, I want I've got my interview on Friday. I want an interview practice with a different teacher every day of the week so I can, do that. So I can feel like I'm speaking to somebody new. I'm not familiar with their accent. And he had different accents every week, every day until the interview. So,
wow. Well, that's a good challenging preparation, but it's true. You don't know who the person doing the interview, you don't know how they're going to speak or what their personality is like. So by exposing yourself to different situations like that, it really prepares you to be able to interact with anybody
yeah,
and be more versatile.
yeah, yeah, it does.
Oh, that's great. I really like this conversation. This is some
Yeah,
great advice, whether you're learning English or just applying for a job in general. So I
yeah,
think there's a
yeah.
lot to learn here. I guess I just want to make sure that we remind everybody, please give us a thumbs up on this video. We really want to get a like and leave a comment if you have made any of these mistakes or maybe other tips that you have that people should never do in a job interview.
Yes, please share it with everybody you know because it's incredible. It really is incredible how many people need a job and how many bad applications I get. And I'm sure all other employers get hundreds of bad applications. So
That's right.
share it with your friends and let's help your friends
Yeah, if you know
get a job.
anybody who's applying for a job that speaks English or is learning English, preparing to try to get a job in an English speaking country, this would be a very valuable
Yeah.
video. So good point. Send them the link, share it with them, spread the word. And yeah, subscribe to our channels, of course. And I think that's it. It was really nice talking to you, Greg. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
the advice.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Amy. We'll speak soon, I hope.
Okay. All right. We'll
All
see
right.
ya.
See ya. Bye for now.
Ciao.